Welcome to Drips News, your source for up-to-the-minute analysis on today's most critical headlines. Stay tuned as we dissect Pence's sharp rebuke of Trump's tariff policies, explore the potential economic fallout of new tariffs on countries trading with Venezuela, and examine the escalating tensions surrounding Greenland. Don't forget to follow us online for continuous updates and in-depth coverage. Publicly challenging President Trump's tariff strategy, advocating for free trade to benefit American consumers. This rebuke follows Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's defense of tariffs, despite potential economic consequences. Pence argues tariffs are useful for negotiation, but free trade ultimately improves living standards. This disagreement surfaces amidst Trump's recent tariff adjustments on Canada and Mexico. This is not the first time Pence has broken ranks with Trump. He previously criticized Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination and Trump's stance on Putin and Ukraine. However, Pence continues to support some of Trump's policies, such as the Trump-Pence tax cuts. This sets the stage for potential economic disruption and further political fallout, as we'll explore next. President Trump has announced a 25% tariff on all imports from countries purchasing oil or gas from Venezuela, citing Venezuela's hostility towards the U.S. and imposing additional tariffs directly on the South American nation. This policy, announced via Truth Social, is set to begin on April 2nd. Venezuela will also face secondary tariffs due to the presence of the Tren de Aragua gang, with the Trump administration deporting suspected members. Trump has directed the Department of Homeland Security and other law enforcement agencies to enforce this new policy. This bold move will undoubtedly send shockwaves through global markets, as we'll examine in our next segment. Global markets are hypersensitive to President Trump's evolving tariff strategy, creating uncertainty for investors. Stocks recently surged following reports that blanket duties on key industrial sectors like automobiles and semiconductors would not be imposed. Tesla shares, previously impacted by sluggish sales and backlash against Elon Musk, experienced a significant rebound. However, Trump introduced further volatility by announcing a 25% tariff on countries buying oil or gas from Venezuela, effective April 2nd. Despite these announcements, Trump hinted at potential flexibility and reciprocal breaks, while also suggesting additional tariffs on automobiles, lumber, and chips are still under consideration. This unpredictable approach to trade policy is causing international consternation, and it is setting the stage for a potential clash over Greenland, which is our next topic. Tensions are escalating between the U.S. and Greenland as Greenland's Prime Minister labels an upcoming visit by U.S. officials, including Second Lady Usha Vance and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, as highly aggressive. This follows President Trump's previous vow to annex the autonomous Danish territory. Trump insists the visit is about friendliness, not provocation, and claims the U.S. team was invited. Greenland's Prime Minister, Mute Bjerregaard, specifically objects to Waltz's visit, viewing it as a demonstration of power. Trump maintains that Greenlanders are receptive to U.S. interest and believes Greenland could be part of America's future. Trump's interest in annexing Greenland has highlighted the island's strategic importance and vast reserves of rare earth minerals, sparking a geopolitical scramble for influence in the Arctic. This administration's unusual approach to diplomacy is, as we'll see, echoed in other areas, including national security. President Trump's strategy of appointing businessmen and political allies to key government positions has headedly created an amateur hour atmosphere, culminating in a stunning security breach. Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic reported that the Trump administration accidentally texted him its war plans. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, a former Fox News host, appears to be the official who transmitted the war plans. Goldberg was inadvertently added to a Signal group chat by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, which included profiles linked to top officials like Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The discussions included Vance's opposition to a potential strike against Houthi rebels in Yemen, citing greater benefits for Europe. Goldberg initially suspected a troll, but confirmed the imminent strike when Hegseth transmitted detailed war plans. The national security principal celebrated the successful strikes with emojis. This incident has sent shockwaves through Washington, raising serious questions about national security protocols, as we'll explore next. U.S. officials are reeling from the revelation that top Trump administration officials shared highly sensitive operational plans for military strikes on Yemen via an unsecure messaging app, Signal, inadvertently including a journalist in the conversation. The Trump administration has acknowledged the authenticity of the messages, but has not explained why classified information was discussed outside approved government systems. Senior officials are scrambling to review the use of Signal, with concerns that its overuse poses a grave risk to national security. Career national security officials are dismayed, noting that such behavior would typically result in immediate termination and potential prosecution. The messages, convened by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, included discussions with Vice President J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The incident has triggered widespread shock and disbelief within the administration. But the Trump administration is not the only one with issues. Greenland's Prime Minister does not agree with the U.S. either. Greenland's Prime Minister has condemned the planned visit by U.S. officials, including Second Lady Usha Vance, as highly aggressive, further straining relations following President Trump's vow to annex the territory. The Prime Minister, Mute B. Egid, specifically criticized the inclusion of National Security Advisor Mike Waltz in the delegation, viewing it as a demonstration of power. This tension stems from Trump's interest in annexing Greenland, which has brought international attention to the island's strategic location and valuable mineral resources. Trump has expressed interest in acquiring Greenland through force or economic pressure, a notion firmly rejected by both Denmark and Greenland. But the U.S. is involved in other global conflicts as well, such as Ukraine. In a significant diplomatic push, Ukrainian and U.S. delegations met in Saudi Arabia to discuss proposals for protecting energy facilities and critical infrastructure, aiming to end the three-year war. President Trump stated that efforts to de-escalate the conflict were somewhat under control. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff expressed optimism about ending the conflict, stating his belief that Putin desires peace and anticipating progress in achieving a Black Sea ceasefire. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky affirmed his delegation's constructive approach to the talks. Despite these diplomatic efforts, both sides reported continued strikes, underscoring the challenges. That's all the news we have for you today, but don't go anywhere because the world never stops turning, and neither does Drip's News. Stay informed, stay engaged, and be sure to join us next time for another roller coaster ride through the headlines shaping our world. Until then, stay curious and keep those news feeds flowing.